All right, here we are at another exciting and exhilarating podcast from Flipping Houses for Rookies. Are you ready, Peter?
Yes. Which one am I? Exhilarating or thrilling?
Both.
No, I think you're at least one of them. Come on.
Okay.
Let's share it.
It
Yeah, let's
bother
go.
me.
Let's go.
All right, so we are on podcast number 421. And the name of today's podcast is The Ultimate Barrier to Every Creative Real Estate Deal.
I heard you say that last week. I've been waiting all week to see what that is.
Okay. Well, here's the description and keep you out of suspense, or keep you in suspense. How about that? I was going to say get you out of suspense, but it's more like keep you in suspense. Here's a description. Okay. Are you ready to break through to success and stop making critical mistakes most make but don't even know it? Today, we plan to reveal top secrets to becoming a deal-making powerhouse. With these simple shifts in your perspective and approach with winning strategies, you'll start impressing even yourself when structuring deals. Let's obliterate the ultimate barrier standing between you and creative real estate glory. Today is your wake-up call, your game changer, your moment to rise above the ordinary and claim your spot among the elite. Forget what you have been told, because you're about to flip the script and transform you into the investor who turns every challenge into triumph. You should expect to smash through self-imposed barriers and rewrite a new real estate story for your future. Let's unlock some tested and proven strategies that elite investors use to close deals effortlessly. Become the visionary who sees opportunities where others see obstacles. Whether a seasoned pro or an ambitious newcomer, this episode will light a fire under you and propel you toward your dreams.
That's all?
So let's do some housekeeping before we get started. So we record this podcast on Thursday mornings, 9:30 a.m. And when we do, we live stream it to 4 different social media platforms. 2 of them are YouTube, so you can go to our Flipping Houses for Rookies channel, or you can go to our Creative REI Replay channel, and you can listen to the podcast in either one of those places, or you can go to LinkedIn or Facebook on Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you ask questions during that podcast time about the podcast, I will answer them. If it's not about the podcast, I prefer you send us a support ticket at flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top right-hand side is a support button, and ask the questions there. Or you can join our WhatsApp Messenger group called Let's Talk Real Estate. That's a little mastermind group with about 100 people or so in there. And you can go in there and ask all the questions you want. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it. Don't forget to subscribe to us wherever you're watching us. Don't forget to like us and leave us a comment. So others can see.
Did you say about the description?
Yeah, so in the description, there's a link that is always some follow-up or some tool or something to help you with the podcast that you're watching.
Okay.
So thank you. All right. Pete, this is a bit of a sequel from episode 420. Top proven real estate questions. Okay.
Sure.
And I want to start today off with a bit of a kick in the teeth. to all of our listeners with this profound yet revolutionary statement.
And what is that?
Your seller is never the problem. Never the problem.
Oh, man, you just took away all my excuses.
It's you.
Damn.
Creative real estate entrepreneurs, not the seller, are the ultimate barrier to every deal. Especially now, since I've released the Zilter system. The only problem is the real estate entrepreneur. Think of this. A real estate agent doesn't pick and choose what kind of properties they list, do they?
No, that's interesting. No.
I mean, they might pick like residential houses, or they might pick commercial, right? Or they might pick apartments and storefronts, that type of, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you're a residential realtor and somebody says to you, I want to list my property, do they say no?
The only time I think you said it is that if the house is really like dysfunctional, needs renovation, but they would try to come back later. So unless it's some really horrible thing.
No. If it's dysfunctional and the price is correct, they will do it.
They'll do it. All right.
Right. So you got a $300,000 house and it's dysfunctional and they list it for 180. Of course they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Right. But the point is do they not, or do they refuse any deal?
They got nothing to lose. Why would they?
So why are we doing that? Why are we refusing deals based on how much money we make or could make? Why do we do that?
We might have the mentality that we're putting money into it, so we have to be careful. But we're not putting any money in. We're not. We got nothing. We got nothing to lose either.
Your seller is never the problem. Never. Creative real estate entrepreneurs, not the seller, are the ultimate barrier to every deal. My first witness I want to put on the stand for today's trial is pre-qualifying sellers.
Okay. Oh.
Who is the creative real estate entrepreneur marketing to, attracting, and eventually talking to? In any negotiation, your mission or cause and purpose must be able to be rooted into the world of the seller. So I want you to repeat that for me so I can make sure that others understood it.
Oh, I need you to say that again, because you're saying so much. I'm thinking too much as you're saying it. So if you do it one more time, I'll definitely do it, because I'm chewing on all this a lot.
No problem. In any negotiation, your mission, in other words, the entrepreneur, and I'm talking to you right now, so I'm going to say your mission, Peter.
Yes.
Your cause and purpose of doing this transaction must be able to be rooted in the world of the seller.
So when I'm negotiating, my cause and purpose is rooted in something about the seller, in the world of the seller. So it's got to be rooted in like their world, what's happening there, and I'm have to focus on that, their world.
Right. So let's just
mine and my needs and whatever else.
So let's just define rooted.
Okay.
So there's two definitions. One is caused or planted to grow roots.
Okay.
The second is established deeply and firmly. So you either need to, if you're going to do a deal, You either need to plant the seed and let it grow because you know you're not going to do it today. Or if there's some, as my friend used to tell me, Robbie, when I used to work with him, used to say, if there's a little spark, I'm going to pour gasoline on it. That means you're going to establish deeply and firmly your mission. If your mission can't be rooted into the seller's world, then you have to take a look at your purpose and your reason for doing it. So let me give you a couple of examples. Peter, I want to buy your $300,000 house for $165,000 so I can make money.
Sure, no problem. Here's the contract. I'll fill it out for you.
Right. You're being facetious, obviously.
You're such a swell guy.
Right.
Yeah. Sure.
So Peter, I need to, instead of paying $3,000 a month for your property, I want to pay $2,000 a month because I need to make more money.
Boy, does that come across wrong. And of course, we don't say that, but they can hear us thinking it, huh?
It leaks through.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of, Peter, the reason why I could give you $165,000 for that house is because, you know, you have 4 rooms that are unfinished. I have to get an electrician. I have to get a plumber. I have to do this. And I'm going to spend $100,000 on this property to get it up to the point where I can sell it for $100,000. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, for $300,000. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now what am I doing? I'm rooting my cause into their head, right? So in other words, I'm planting it firmly, right? I'm firmly and deeply establishing how I can help the seller, because if the seller could have done the renovations and spend the $100,000, they would have done it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to bring $100,000 to the table, and I'm going to help them do that. Here's another one, Peter. I can close on your house in the next week, but I can only give you $250,000 for your $300,000 house.
Mm. It doesn't sound good,
right? Or I can say, Peter, I can give you $300,000 for your house and have you out of there in a week so you can do your job transfer on time and not lose your job.
Mm.
Right? So your purpose and mission should be to help the seller with their problem as if they were a child.
Mm.
As if they were a 5-year-old child that's trying to do something, and you're going to help them prevent getting hurt or continuing through the pain.
Mm.
Right? How many parents have you heard just say to their kids, I wish I could have that pain for you and you not have it?
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So I've never told you this story, I don't believe. But I first learned this when I was a very young man. I want to say I was 9 or 10 years old.
Huh.
My sister, who is 4 years younger than me, got hit by a car.
Oh, really?
And she broke her femur bone. And she laid in the middle of the street for almost an hour and a half waiting for an ambulance. She then went to the hospital and laid in a hospital bed in traction, I think, for a couple of months, at least a month. It might have been longer. I think it was 2 months. Then was put in a full body cast from her neck to her toes for the entire summer. I think it was 3 or 4 months.
Yikes.
My grandfather made her a wheelchair, and we used to roll the wheelchair around with her because she had a full fiberglass hard, like a cast, for a broken leg, on her entire body. And the only holes in it was where she could pee or poop. So we used to have to put her on a bedpan.
Yikes.
Every day. Feed her and everything.
Yikes. Crazy.
Right? So that was a very strong lesson for me on I wish I could take your pain.
Yeah.
And if you have the wrong person who you have marketed to and now talking to doesn't want this, well, we have a total suspect to our purpose and our goals. I want all cash. That's a big one. I want all cash.
Hmm.
So, how could you root your purpose and your goals into that seller? Well, help them get all cash. I can sign an option agreement with you for 90 days. I can put it on the market. We'll see what the market says. If I can get you that amount of money, I'll give it to you. It's going to cost you 5%.
Mm-hmm.
What did you just do?
You just got yourself in their world. That's what they want. Why fight them? I mean, we used to say, well, we don't do those deals, but there always has been that potential to do that. We just had markets when it didn't seem that feasible, and now it seems feasible. So why not?
Right.
That's what they want.
Right. I mean, how are you going to build an offer that the seller loves and solve his or her problem that builds confidence? Hang on one second. Right? So, how are you going to build confidence and an offer that the seller loves and solve his or her problem that builds confidence so the seller is totally convinced it's right and will chew his arm or leg off to have it? There's no other way. The seller needs to feel confident and love your solution and wants to know that he or she is doing the right thing for the future them, their family, and their wallet. So I've said this before. I'm going to say it again because it's apropos right now. Your marketing makes a difference. What do for sale by owners not want to do?
They don't want to pay fees.
There you go. What do expired listings want to do?
They want to sell the house that they couldn't sell for some reason.
Right. And now they might be vulnerable to paying fees.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So a divorced couple, what do they want? Right. A person with liens, what do they want? A person in foreclosure, what do they want? An out of area owner, in other words, the zip code goes to a different address. I'm sorry, the tax bill goes to a different zip code than the property address. What do they want? They want to keep getting money and not have the landlord obligations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you start matching your mission to your list, to your marketing, right? So what I'm saying is house for sale equals prospect for us. No.
Mm.
If you want to cut down the chances of talking to the wrong people, then be careful who you're marketing to. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The cycle of action on your closing starts with who did you promote that you're going to buy their property to?
Sure.
It starts with that decision. Your mission and purpose and goals should reflect everything you do in the entire cycle of action, all the way from picking your list to pre-qualifying your sellers before they talk to you, to your conversation, to your paperwork, to who you're going to sell to.
It sounds like don't start something you can't finish.
Right.
Just give yourself a good start by starting with the right type of person.
Good. So I want to repeat myself. We'll keep doing this. Your seller is never the problem. Never. Creative real estate entrepreneur, I'll give it to you again. Creative real estate entrepreneurs, not the seller, are the ultimate barrier to every deal. My next witness I put on the stand for today's trial
Okay.
is most don't understand that money is to be used, not possessed. Money's an energy. It moves. It likes to move. It likes to have cause. If you just got a savings account and it's just a savings account for a rainy day fund, or it's in case there's a disaster fund, guess what you're going to get? Rainy days and disasters.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a fund that says, okay, I'm taking 2% of my income and I'm going to put it in this savings account so I can buy a house within 5 years, that money will stay there and grow because it has a purpose.
Right.
If it has no purpose, it will find a purpose and you'll have to use it.
Mm-hmm.
This is much like human beings. Human beings have to have a purpose. If they don't have a purpose, then there's a difference between the way most human beings live. And you can categorize every human being on planet Earth in one of these two categories. They're living life, or life is living them. The difference is when they're living life, they're causing or planning or have a goal to do something. They have a purpose or an intention or a plan, even if it's just as much as I think about it and I wish I could.
Mm-hmm.
Where the other purpose, which I have a few of those in my life, I will remain nameless. One of them born me. And she's 82 years old, has no purpose, and wonders why she's mad or uncomfortable or not happy in her life.
Yeah.
Right? Most don't understand that money is to be used, not possessed. It's funny how natural laws work. Like this one. If others have trouble getting money from a creative real estate entrepreneur, he or she will never find it easy to get money from others. I got this from my coaching group. When I talk to people, I do free 45-minute interviews.
Mm-hmm.
You got the guy that wants to, and I say guy, it's mostly guys, but girls too.
Yeah.
They want to use all the freebie stuff. They don't want to spend any money, right? They want to go onto YouTube and watch YouTube, and they bounce from me and 10 other people, and they get all these little tidbits, right? They want to learn real estate for free. I have partners and kids and relatives that are millennials, and they don't want to spend any money. Well, if they're having trouble spending money, right, how easy is it going to be for them to get money from others?
Now I get it. If they're not willing to flow it, why could they expect someone else to flow it?
Right. I'm gonna try to tell the story, but I don't know that I could do it because I'm not 100% sure who I had this conversation with. But recently, I had a conversation with someone that I can't do it. I don't remember who it was. It was kind of like they personally couldn't understand why someone would pay more money for an option to buy a house. In other words, why they would pay $3,000 for a rent when the actual rent was worth $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't understand why someone would pay $500 extra for it, because he himself wouldn't do that because he's a cheap guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a penny pincher. He's a miser.
And also, people like that are not looking to the future to see the whole story, the whole picture, all the numbers added up, which in the long run could be a very smart thing to do, depending on what the troubles that they're having or the emotions that they're going through or the trouble they're having. It's not just 1 month's worth of money up and down.
Right.
Don't go to college if that's the case. Why spend $100,000 for 4 years? Don't waste the money. Oh, sure. Don't be an anesthesiologist and make $1 million then. You know, it's like, to me, it's short-sightedness.
Exactly. So a good way to describe this is a pipe.
A pipe.
A pipe.
Okay.
Whatever diameter, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, 1 inch around in pipe,
Sure.
like a plumbing pipe, like a piece of copper.
Even a hose.
A hose. Okay.
Anything.
So let's just say you got a hose that's, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet long, 3 feet long, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And on the left side of that hose, you have the supply, the water supply.
Yep.
On the right side of the hose, the water comes out, it exits. Right?
Sure.
If you were to plug up the right side of the hose and the water can't exit, what will happen?
You can only fill it with about 5 feet of water, or not, because the air might get jammed up. You can't put water in it.
It just stops flowing, right? It doesn't build pressure and like break the hose. It just waters like electricity. It just travels to the least point of resistance.
And stops.
And it just stops. So what does that leave you with? Stagnant water.
Yeah.
So if you have somebody that doesn't spend money or is afraid to spend money, what does their pipe look like?
It's just stuck. It's sitting.
It's stagnant. Doesn't flow.
Yep.
And in creative real estate, it's even odder because the seller and creative real estate entrepreneur a lot of times aren't passing money. When we do our deals, we're not passing money. If anything, it's digits in a bank account. It's not even really money.
That's right. It's true.
And only the exact right value decides which account has a larger digits. Right? So I'm gonna explain this, but listen to what I'm telling you. Only the exact right of value.
Only the what? Say again? The what?
Only the right exact amount of value.
Okay.
Decides which account has larger digits. So it has nothing to do with the house, has nothing to do with the seller, has nothing to do with any of that other than the value. Right? I'm going to tell you right now, the only way to have money is to have a completed product that is valuable to somebody else.
Yeah.
If you have no money, either your product's incomplete, you don't have a product or service, it's not completed, or it's not valuable to others. Because when you have those three things lined up, then you have, why do you think Amazon has so much money?
They have every product you can imagine.
No, they have a service. Go onto your phone, click a button, it shows up tomorrow. It has nothing to do with the product. It has everything to do with the ease of it. You put your credit card, you pay for Prime, which is $140 now, and you get free shipping. You go on your phone or on your computer. Oh, there's multiple choices, hundreds of choices.
Yeah.
On Q-tips. Oh, I like these pink color Q-tips. You push the button and tomorrow they're here. That is value. Consider this. This is important. This is a big aha moment for me.
Really?
Yeah. Ready?
Sure.
Consider this. Second money is a lot easier than first money. And not many creative real estate entrepreneurs think like this. Okay, so let me explain where I got this from, and then let me put it into creative real estate. Okay, there's two aspects of this.
Sure.
Number one, there's this story I was told a long time ago where this person, this person, this say billionaire, let's say like Donald Trump or something like that, right? Real estate mogul, right? Or whoever, Richard Kiyosaki, whoever, some big name, walks into an elite shop for businessmen, sells briefcases and suits and ties and pens and pencils and all that kinds of stuff, right? And he comes in and he buys a pen for $3,000.
Okay.
What does the person that sells him the pen, what do they do next? I was asked this question and I got it wrong. You know, you ring him out, you write an invoice, you get his identity so you can sell him more or stay in contact with him.
How about you give him the pen?
Right? You would think all these things, right? No.
Oh, no, the person wonders, how come this guy spends so much on a damn pen?
No.
Damn, okay, I give up.
Sell him a pencil.
Because
He's already in the mood to buy. And he bought a $3,000 pen, so sell him a $2,000 pencil because he's already in the mood to buy. So this is what they talk about, the second money.
Oh.
Because second money is easier than the first money. So the first sale of selling him the $3,000 pen was whatever. Yeah. But then you say to him, how about a pencil that matches it? Oh, how much is that? $2,000. Okay, give it to me.
Yeah.
The second money is easier. This is where this comes from.
Okay.
You go online and you buy something and they have what they call an OTO, one-time offer. You pay for it and you get a screen that pops up. Oh, well, you got to buy this. That's called second money.
Sure.
You with me?
I'm following.
That's where this came from. This is where this idea came from in my head. But I'm not using that here. I'm using it in a different way. I'm just stealing the language.
Okay.
So let me explain. As you heard me say all too often, real estate is made to take money out of it, not put money into it.
Right.
That is because the first money is the money the seller has already in the property. They own the property, deed in hand. Well, if you understand this concept, then you need to make your value proposition on the seller's second money. You. Remember, it is digits in a bank account. Excuse me. Hang on one second. It's digits in a bank account.
Yeah.
It's the value that gets you the money, not the money. Which means, Peter, I'm being profound here, but you got to understand this. Which means money is always a mental issue. It's not a shortage issue. What value did you create in the seller's head that they want, that they're willing to do this? Value means to us hold in high regard, appreciate, cherish, a prize or treasure that a seller feels they have stumbled upon and believes there is worth or importance in a relationship with you.
Yep.
I'll say it again. So the value we're building, or what we consider to be valuable, is that the seller holds in high regard and appreciates, cherishes, and you are a prize or a treasure to them. that the seller feels they have stumbled upon, they found you by mistake, and believes is worth or important enough to keep the relationship with you going.
Yeah.
Which is why I always say, or have said several times in this podcast, everything in business and in life actually is not a revenue event, but everything is a relationship event. You ever hear the saying, it's not what you know, but it's who you know?
Sure.
Right? Does this make sense? Am I doing okay?
Yeah. Yeah. There's also, the book we work on or talk about is, if you have a problem, it's not what to do, it's who could help you with that.
That's right.
I use that in life.
Yeah.
Who do we ask? Let's try this person. Let's try that person. How do you do this? What do we do about that? You can't figure everything out by yourself, but we got people. Use them.
Well, you could figure everything out by yourself, but there's
Take too long.
hundreds of years of research already done for you, and it would take too long.
Secondhand opinions and secondhand experiences. The right person, sure.
So remember, your seller is never the problem. Never. Creative real estate entrepreneurs, not the seller, are the ultimate barrier to every deal. Which begs to bring up my third witness to put on the stand today.
Your Honor, I now call.
You're in the people business, not the real estate business.
Yeah.
So it's not deal structuring or your offer to solve problems that counts. But instead, how does it affect the seller once they receive your money or services after the deal is done? This is something we don't talk about, but this is what makes the deal. I'm going to tell you where I learned this, okay?
Yeah, it makes sense when you say it. Go ahead.
I didn't write this down because I wasn't sure I wanted to tell this story, but I'm now that I'm here, I'm going to tell it because it's just too important.
Yeah.
My wife had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty bad for a while. It took us out of commission for a year. She is cancer-free now. It's 5 years later. But I will tell you that I saw many doctors and oncologists and all kinds of people. She had it in her she had tongue cancer. So we saw nose, ear, throat. We saw all kinds of people.
Mm.
They had a team of doctors. They were 4 or 5 doctors that were on behalf of my wife. They met weekly, sometimes in the beginning, even more often than that. The only thing they talked about that I'm aware of was afterlife. After treatment, their decisions they make now, how would that affect her after? What kind of life would she have if they did this? For example, they could operate on her and remove the cancer.
Mm.
But the ramifications of her afterlife were not acceptable to them, and it would create more problems. Like they say,
the cure is worse than
the disease. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're looking at it after the fact, not just right now.
Right. So this is Benjamin Hardy wrote a book. He's Dan Sullivan's guy from Strategic Coach.
Yeah.
The Future You.
Yeah.
If you were to put yourself in your future you shoes, how would you look back at this decision you're making today? Right? So this is what we don't do enough with the seller.
Mm.
We don't put the seller in their future them shoes. Right? How does it affect the seller once they receive either our money or our services, in other words, past the closing, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm afraid too many don't think of the after effects of a deal, or the creative real estate entrepreneur only thinks about how it affects him or her, the entrepreneur, and not really spending enough time creating a vision for the seller to know it's the correct decision.
You know, what's wild about that, like how many times have we talked and danced around this so many times? But what's making me think is like this. You have many steps that you have to do to purchase a house, sell it, do all the deals, all these things you got to do. But the whole thing is based on where you want to wind up. It's like if you're taking a trip, where do you want to go? 1,000 miles away. So you have to work some things backwards, right? Where do you want to wind up? So you have to work it backwards. But we get so involved with what's happening right now, what they're saying right now. But we should be thinking of how do you want to wind up when it's all over?
So there's a couple of sayings for this. Like, you don't sell the plane ride, you sell the vacation.
Oh, okay. I like that. What else
You
you got?
you don't sell the drill, you sell the hole.
Yeah.
Right. So the point is the guy that has a job transfer in 3.5 weeks is like, so imagine being on your new job, collecting money every single month without having to be a landlord, because I'm going to take care of everything for you.
Yeah.
And never think twice about it until the check comes every month.
Yeah.
You're selling the afterlife. I mean, look at the Egyptians, the pyramids.
Yikes.
Right? They were sold on life, but they weren't sold on the afterlife. They would put all their jewels and their families and everything in this pyramid for the afterlife. They were selling afterlife.
Yeah, how'd that work out?
Well, the pyramids are still there.
Yeah,
so I'm assuming,
and they're still in the tomb, all rusted.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that
you're making the point though. They had more concern about that in a way.
Now, I want to explain something here without a lot of explanation, but hopefully I can do this correctly, that people understand what I'm talking about without getting into a bunch of significance.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to be arrogant or anything like that. It's just my thoughts. Make sure they're articulated enough.
Okay.
There's a very, very strong and powerful and controlling unknown factor about this. If a creative real estate entrepreneur does this, or doesn't do this, like create the story or the vision for decision of afterlife,
mm-hmm.
It creates a stuck flow. Mm-hmm. It's all one way and it just sticks. So it's all outflow. I'm talking to this seller. I'm talking to that seller. I know people in some of my coaching groups that have been doing this for 3 years, been in coaching for 3 years, 2, 3, 4 years. Making offers. They're stuck on making offers.
Yeah.
Nobody has accepted their offer to reverse the flow, so they get some inflow. It's like if you and I, which has happened probably on this podcast, had a conversation and I talked to you for 45 minutes and never let you give me a chance, never let you allow you to answer me or have any input. I just Everybody that's listening to me right now has had that happen.
Everybody knows somebody who just talks and you don't get your turn.
Or not even they may not know someone, but they may have been involved with that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a customer service rep on a telephone. It could be a spouse that has just stuck in something and just needs to. It's a this, it's a that, it's a this, it's a that, it's a that, and they never let you talk.
Yeah.
That's what this is like. It's a stuck flow. How does that make you feel? Right? There's no inflow or responses received by the creative real estate investor. The reason why this is happening is because they are not putting themselves in the shoes of the seller and the afterlife of the deal. They're not doing that. They're too worried about them. The barrier is the entrepreneur actually thinks he or she needs to make the final decision on the deal. But in fact, the seller is the final decision maker. If you don't help the seller see clearly how things will go once you sign the docs, you will get this. No vision, no action. No vision, no decision. No vision, no agreement. No vision, no affinity. No vision, low or no more communication. And you wonder why people ghost you. Because your vision is yours. It's not your mission or cause or goals are planted in the seller's world to see if they want that. It's a one-way road that doesn't allow you to get or receive information that is really needed and wanted. And people that go a long time without buying real estate are on a stuck flow. And they have to look at themselves in the mirror and ask, what am I doing wrong? It's not the seller. Now, if it was one deal, I could say it's a seller. But if you've been doing it for a year and you haven't closed a deal, it's not the seller. It's you, baby. What are you doing or not doing? Right? I didn't put it in here, but I'm going to tell you one of the things that I hear a lot about is my clients talking past the sale. They convince the seller that has already decided I should do this, and they keep talking. We call this giving them a seminar. So moving on, our entrepreneurs want to know why sellers ghost them. It was all a one-way flow that has too much tilted in the entrepreneur's favor. And that was the picture painted in the seller's mind. The entrepreneur created the problem and didn't even know it. They're being selfish. By the way, neediness falls into this too.
Sure, it would. You know, it's funny. Years ago, Ron LeGrand was one of people that you learned a lot from, than me too, in person sometimes. And he always talked about the person making the offer, the seller making the offer, how much, how long. He would just ask the person what they were willing to do, and if it was something we could do, we would do it. And just the mentality of it is what you're shooting at, like with the afterlife. Like, what are you trying to do? How much do you want? Why are you doing that? Okay, I'll do that for you. It goes back to that.
Yeah. That's what we did in podcast number 420 with the questions.
Yeah. And it's kind of stupid if you ask a person, what do you want? And you go, okay, I'll do that. How would they say no?
Right.
But if you go like, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that, I could do that, like, maybe they don't want that.
You're
So it's
trying to
just a
change their
mental,
mind.
yeah, and it's not why bother trying, but because there is something there. It's just interesting that it always goes back to that one, but you're refining it very, very vividly and like visually, like what's the person's life like after it's done? They go, now I can, and then there they are with their new life,
Right.
their afterlife.
Your seller is never the problem. Never. Creative real estate entrepreneurs, not the seller, are the ultimate barrier to every deal. My fourth witness I'd like to bring to trial today, or I will call to the stand today, finding the real decider.
Oh, wow.
As we talked about in podcast number 420, Peter, top proven creative real estate questions, our entrepreneurs put too much emphasis on the questions and miss the seller's answers, which most often are the seller the seller making you the offer. I'm going to read that again. So our entrepreneurs put too much emphasis on the questions and miss the seller answers, which most often are the seller making you the offer, like you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Or at least giving you the guidelines on what they will or won't do. My friend Joe talks about this being the Socrates method by asking questions, right?
Mm.
And if the entrepreneur is contemplating his or her side of the deal because they are needy for money, well, you will constantly create and cause deal blockers.
Yeah.
Often without knowing it, and throw you off course. So finding the real decider, right? Why are they deciding to sell this house now? You used to say back in the day when we were doing podcasts here at the office, you used to say, scan back and tell me when you decided to sell this house. What happened just before that?
Yeah.
In their mind, like, Peter, let me ask you a question. In your mind, scan back and think of when you decided to sell this house. And they say,
yeah, last May.
Okay, so what happened just before that?
Oh, well, and then the story ensues. But the reason I did it that way is it's a mental fact that things happen along your track of time, and there's a moment in time where something happened. Might as well go back to the actual experience in your mind and see what it was. And it's kind of fresh. It's not a remnant. It's like the real thing that happened. It's quite lively with all the thoughts, the emotions, the feelings would be pretty vivid if you do it that way, if needed.
So you just said something that I want to go back and read something again. Let me see if I can find it.
As you're living, things happen and you make a decision to deal with whatever is going on. The kids are growing up, they're moving out, anybody for college, all those things. Something happens and you have to come up with, now I will do such and such. Then maybe something else happens, you got to modify it, but that's what we do every day.
Anyways, I can't recite it. I can't find it here because I feel like I'm taking too much time, but money is a mental issue. It's not for scarcity of money. And you just said the money issue because you said I did this because it was a mental thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Something happened, you make a decision, I need to blah, blah. And then they go, gee, I'd like to get as much money as I can. Right. And they'll talk about that. And that's where we probably get lost talking about the money, because that's what the physical thing that's happening, but that's happening because of something that they're thinking that they want to do.
If your mind is not completely open and treating this like it's a therapy session, you will create deal blockers. and never really know it.
Mhm. And that even we're talking a lot lately about the option purchases, just selling the property for the cash that they're asking for. How much is that still a part of this? Is it still a pretty big part or less of a
Right.
part because they just want money?
Right. A book that Dan Sullivan wrote. I sent it to you. You were reading it one day in the podcast. I don't know if you actually really read it, but it's what am I thinking? What do I think about my thinking?
Yeah. What am I thinking now was the
Yeah.
mantra. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, I read some of it. It was actually very helpful to like, wait a
see
minute,
what
what's going on right now? Wait a minute, what?
you
Why?
said you read some of it, but you didn't read
Yeah.
all of it. You didn't read all of it.
Well, you didn't read all of your books either.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The point that I'm trying to make is that you're talking to somebody. Are they really there?
Oh.
Are they really having a conversation with you, or are they thinking about something else?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to constantly check on, are they really there? Are they really tracking with you?
Or what do they really feel about what you just said?
Yeah.
They might go, uh-huh.
I mean, if you practice what you just said in a Dan Sullivan book, like, what am I thinking about now? About my thinking, all of a sudden you'll start to realize, oh, I'm thinking this because something just happened to trigger it.
Yeah.
And I have attention on that trigger. And I'm no longer thinking, I'm not in present time anymore thinking about this conversation. The trigger has my attention.
Yeah. Especially if you don't know what it is.
Right. If it's in your subconscious mind. In other words, all this is with the creative. So this creative real estate entrepreneur does these deal blockers, right? And they're on a stuck flow with regard to the deal agenda. This is where I'm going to finish off here. I know that we're 3 minutes away from the hour, but I want to go over this and then we'll end off.
Okay.
A valid agenda should be something like this when in the discovery stage with a seller.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 5 points. They should be written down, but you do as you please. This is the agenda, right? That's done in the discovery stage.
Mm-hmm.
1, the problem the house is causing. It should really be the problems attached to the house, because it doesn't have to be the house causing it. It could be like they want to get their money out and their greed, right?
Okay.
2, what the seller wants from the transaction. 3, the seller's baggage stopping them from getting that. 4, your baggage holding the deal down. 5, what happens next? So I'm going to say them again just in case somebody missed them, right? So 1, the problems attached to the house. 2, what the seller wants from the transaction. 3, the seller's baggage stopping them from getting what they want from the house.
Yeah.
4, what baggage is holding get that again. 4, your baggage holding the deal down.
Yeah.
And what happens next? So if you take this agenda and match it to the questions I gave you on podcast number 420, you're going to do well.
Bill, when we're done, I'm going to type all these up nice in big font in bold letters.
Okay.
I like these.
And when a deal does not happen, look first to yourself and not to your team. I'm going to give that again. And when a deal does not happen, look first to yourself and or your team as the root of the problem, not the seller.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going too many weeks without writing at least option agreements, you have a problem.
Yep.
If you're not even getting an option agreement so you could do the Zilter system, which is like just listing it and getting buyers to call you, like we talked about on 420, and we also talked about on episode 414. If you're going too long without getting this, then it's you. Now pay attention to this. The baggage is as bad as it gets in a deal. But if you deal with it gracefully, and if it were a close relationship, if you treated it like a close relationship, and here's the magic, you now confronted it, you will now get somewhere. Because your seller only has it sticking to them because they're not confronting it. They don't like it. It's ew, it's yucky, it's ugly, and they don't want to just confront it.
Yeah.
And your job and your value is to help them confront it and hold their hand so they can walk through the park with it. If you don't, you'll go nowhere. No deals and consistently frustrated. Which brings me to my last witness that I'm going to bring to the stand for today.
Yes.
You're going to like this one, Peter, because this is going to put everything in perspective for you.
Okay.
Blank slating.
Oh.
When you contact the seller, you need to have a blank slate in your mind. Work with the best possible facts and information, not with assumptions and expectations that are often dead wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'll read that again. When you contact the seller, you need to have a blank slate in your mind. Work with the best possible facts and information, not with assumptions and expectations that are often dead wrong. Facts are something you can prove to exist by visible evidence. I'm behind on my mortgage. Show me your mortgage statement. The bank won't accept my payments. Show me the letter from the bank. In other words, if it's not written, it's not true.
Uh-huh.
Opinions are assumptions or something which may or may not be based on a fact. Okay, so facts are observable. You can see them. Opinions are not observable. Yet too many creative real estate entrepreneurs are sloppy, very sloppy. This is a huge point. We could do a whole podcast just on this. Too many creative real estate entrepreneurs are sloppy with the differences between a fact and someone's opinion or assumptions. Using opinions to solve problems makes for insane solutions that don't ever work. Your positive or negative expectations, opinions, baggage have no place in your work. Your blank slate mind and true facts will guide you to a clear vision that the seller will. Well, let me do that again. The blank slate mind and true facts will guide you to a clear vision, and the seller to a clear vision, so the two of you can negotiate with enough value on both sides and make decisions that will move digits in each of your bank accounts as needed. The truth is, you don't know enough about a deal until you go through this process. And as my punchline for today, all of this is to just find out the flexibility of a seller and what they're willing to do and not do to push forward. The number one core reason the number one core reason a entrepreneur should never believe that it's a seller and it is them is because they think when they're talking to the seller that they are etching their words in stone and they have to live by them. And the discovery stage. I got news for you. You could put those words on a contract and not even have to live by them.
Sure. Contracts are meant to be broken.
Right?
Or something.
So here's my point. Once you get through this process or this discussion, this discovery process, you settle the main matters. The seller signs a non-obligatory document. We call it a memorandum or even an option agreement. You now go into your deal meeting and you do your research. Too many entrepreneurs make the huge mistake that they're committing to the deal structure right now when they don't have to. They feel like they can't make that decision because there's unknown factors. Right? And they make these decisions way too early. They pre-qualify the property before they pre-qualify the seller's willingness to do the deal your way. And that is the number one thing that has to change for a creative real estate entrepreneur to be a creative real estate entrepreneur is they need to do all their work and all their conversations, sometimes hours worth of work on the mindset of the seller and never talk about the property. And then once the seller says, yes, I'll do it, you get an obligatory agreement, sign. Now you go make sure the house is something you can deal with. Because remember what we talked about in the last podcast. FREP and FRED. Right? So FREP, F-R-E-P, is flipping real estate property, which is what a realtor does. And creative real estate, we're flipping real estate documents. So does the house really matter? No, the house only matters to the degree that it will attract buyers that will want it. How popular is the house going to be and how many buyers will want it so you have a lot of choices with buyers and you won't get stuck.
Yeah.
Wow. Your seller is never the problem. Never. Creative real estate entrepreneurs, not the seller, are the ultimate barrier to every deal. If you're not writing contracts on a weekly basis or minimally a monthly basis, it's the entrepreneur. You're either not on the phones, or whenever you are on the phones, you're doing something wrong and you have to introspect a little bit. You have to record your calls. You have to listen to it. You have to get a coach. You have to do something Because minimally, you could do the Zilter deal and do an option agreement and just list it like a realtor. Minimally. Now, I'm not saying every deal, but I'm saying if you talk to 10 people in a week, 2 people a day for 5 days a week, and you don't get a deal, you're doing something wrong. It's you. It's not the seller. There's no way 10 sellers could have something wrong with them. Can't be. And like I said in this, I don't know if it was this podcast or in 420, realtors don't have to worry about all the deal structuring and all the paperwork. They just list them. Why can't we do the same? Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. Hopefully, I shifted your way of thinking today. Hopefully, you will flourish and prosper because of what we went over today. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you're watching and listening. Make sure you like it. Make sure you leave a review. If you have any questions, go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top right-hand side, there's a support link. Or join our WhatsApp messenger group called Let's Talk Real Estate. And if you want our software, you can go to creativereireply.com. There you can buy leads for $1.99 each, and we do all the work for you. We converse with all the sellers, and we give you appointments, 2 or 3 appointments. We guarantee you get 2 or 3 appointments a week, and all you do is the things we're talking about, and you make deals. Over and out. We will chat with you on podcast number 422. Thanks for your time today.